There's a good one. That black bumper sticker. Fear the government that fears your guns. That's a good one. All right, what are we working on today? Well, got the big black beauty here. Let's see, what do we got? We got some Yokohama Geolanders. 295 40 21. Yes, they are gigantic. How gigantic? Well, here's my average size man hand. So, you know, they're big and expensive. And they're the last set of 21s I'm going to buy for this car, because I'm going to convert this thing to like 17s. And I think we'll put some 17s on here and get some like 31-inch Super Swampers or something. I think she'd look pretty good. And I'll get the big Bambi basher for it. I'm not gonna cut the exhaust off, straight pipe it. Anyway, what are we doing today? All right, steering rack. Oh yes, it's time to do the steering rack on the big black beauty, and it is not fun. The rack job is really easy. What gets hard is you have to remove the front differential. So that means suspension on both sides comes apart to eject both CV axles to get the diff out of the way to do the job. So, just got the tires loose. Had to go to the store, get 21. I don't have 21 anything. I got 19. I have 20. I have 20 millimeter. I have 19 millimeter, and I have 22 millimeter. I don't have any 21. So 21. I know there's some 16s involved too, which is really common on Mercedes. So anyway, yes, the budget Mercedes-Benz continues to be a budget Mercedes. It's like they say, there's no such thing as a cheap Mercedes, right? You either pay up front or you pay in repair cost. But since I do all of the work myself, yeah, I save hand over fist. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, the rack's $300. For a normal car, it's about 120, 150. It's $300 for this thing. Sure, okay, it's twice as much, even a hair more. 60% or whatever, 110% increase in cost for the part. I get that, but what's the labor on this? $700. So that part, that cost I save. So anyway, this is going to turn into a probably pretty normal job where I sit here and talk about what I'm doing, and then in the next video, the next part of the video, I'll be done, because it'll be tomorrow, and I'll be like, oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to record. By the way, it's done. It was a pain in the ass. That's usually what happens, but anyway, yeah, let's get at it. Can't wait to get her done. All right, little update. Everything's going good. Pretty easy, actually. I was kind of intimidated at first, but you know why? It's a full-size SUV with a 5.5 liter V8, automatic transmission, transfer case, drive shafts, differentials. It's a Chevy Tahoe, basically. It's a German Chevy Tahoe. Here's where we're at. I got the CV axles on both sides pulled. Just popped the uppers. Obviously tie rod ends have got to come out because the rack's coming out. ABS sensor, which I'll actually show you something funny on the other side. I'm gonna need a brake hose eventually. That's kind of wearing out. It's kind of got a little split in it. I mean, obviously it's still fine, but it will need to be replaced here in the near future. You know, it's that long. Oh no, German cars are so complicated. Anyway, then on this side, same thing. you know, this assembly on each side's the same. But this ABS sensor bolt was only in about 3 threads. It was actually sitting kind of like how it is. See that gap? And with the sensor in it, there was a gap between the sensor and the bolt. So somebody has had this apart at some point and didn't put it back together right. But anyways, yeah, CV axles are just disconnected and dangling. So I just got the diff out. Didn't even really need the jack. The guy on the YouTube video I watched really struggled. You know, it wasn't too bad. The hardest part actually was getting the drive shaft to slip out. I had all the bolts pulled out, and I mean I was kind of like hammering on the corner trying to loosen it. I ended up kind of popping the cap on the joint. You know, it's kind of like a CV axle, how it has a cap. So put that back on, and I was like, well, let's leave it connected and I'll just drop the diff out and I'm sure we can motivate it. And that's exactly what happened. Diff mount 1, diff mount 2, and these both have welded nuts, so they're just bolts. And then number 3 here is a nut and a bolt. So there's the diff, and that's that little extension flange, and that mount right there is the one that goes here on the passenger side. So if you look at this passenger side CV axle, you can see there's the splines, and then you can see how long that internal shaft is, where then it works its way to into the joint, because it travels kind of through that little extension there. But no, came down pretty easy. The flange for that side tries to kind of catch on the subframe, and you got to kind of rotate it as you come down, which kind of puts some pressure on this rear joint because it's kind of rotating against the tab. I might try to just bend this tab out just a hair for reassembly, and then when I tighten it back down, obviously, you know, don't do it like an idiot. Make sure that, you know, you get it tight. And then there's just a breather here. That's pretty self-explanatory. Kind of interesting. It's a braided hose. Surprised they used such a nice, high-quality line for a breather. Didn't lose any gear oil, which is really surprising because usually non-flanged differentials, man, you just got a mess on your hands. But no, it came out just fine. It's probably dry. It's probably no fluid in it. But I mean, there's a drop or two, but no, it was pretty painless. I'm pretty surprised. I'm sure putting it back in is going to be a nightmare. But you know, the focus of today is getting everything apart. And if I can get the new rack in today, tomorrow we'll just put the diff back in, tighten everything down, test drive, retighten if need be. So here's the rack here. Now we can see, so we can start getting to all of our let's see, there's what, 2 lines, and there's only 2 mounting bolts, which makes it pretty easy. They are right there and there, if you can see where, right there and there. So that's easy enough. Let me just crawl my lazy ass in here, and that's actually way easier. So there's mounting bolt 1. And it's kind of got these little tabs. So once you pull the bolt out, you can pull the tab. You undo the tab, and this whole little kind of collar comes off. Same on this side. Here's that little collar. What was that? An E12, and I think those are 16 mils. But yeah, it's just those 2 bolts. Steering shaft joint, which you get from the top, which the guy online made it look pretty easy. I watched a YouTube video about it. Certified YouTube mechanic. But anyways, it didn't look too painless. And just the front power steering lines on this side. Oh my god, getting too old for this shit. Are right there. Let's see if we can turn the flashlight on. There we go. So getting to that bolt, that reverse Torx there, it looks like a nightmare on video, but in reality it looks pretty easy. It looks like there's a decent amount of room, especially if you're back up on this side. So we'll get her. Worst case scenario, I'll drop the mounts and the steering shaft and just bring it down and then hit the lines. But the shaft Oh yeah, right there. There's the U-joint, and there's a little Torx on it. I'm gonna need to turn the wheel, turn that shaft 180 degrees to disconnect it, because that's the back side of the bolt that you're seeing there. My shadow covers it every time, but on the left side of the U-joint there, that's the back side of the bolt. I'm thinking just a decent amount of extension through here, which is how I watched him do it. It's just a little 12 mil reverse Torx, so it shouldn't be too bad. He says putting it together is a bitch. So reassembly, I'm gonna have Trisha here tomorrow for reassembly. So that's gonna make that easier. But yeah, no, progress report. This has been really easy. I'm full on Alex, because I just soaked everything. I was like, you know, it's a Colorado car, but I'm just soak it. Just soak it. Makes life easy. So that's what I did. All right, I'm gonna get back on it. All right, here it is, like a half hour later. Pretty much no time at all. We're just draining the power steering fluid out of the rack now. Got the lines popped up there, and yummy mess. But if you grab the lines, if you pull them to this side, as you can see I did, because I was like, oh yeah, I'll pull the lines over here and put them in my drain bucket. Well, then everything puking out of the rack just is falling on the ground. So put them back over there. I mean, yeah, the subframe gets kind of messy, but whatever. Anyway, what some people don't know, and it didn't really work out for me, but yeah, if you take a you cut the lid off of like a gallon jug like this, you could turn it upside down and it makes like a funnel. Most people don't know that. See, you can be all cool like that. I don't know, kind of makes you feel special. But you know, the teachers always told me I was special. I even had special education because I was special. Clearly, I enjoy laying on the ground in the winter, in the cold, listening to electronic music and taking apart $100,000 cars that I buy that have high miles, and I get them for almost nothing. People see this thing and they're like, oh, Mr. Hoity-toity. It's like, dude, I bought this thing for cheaper than a used Toyota Camry of the same year. You know? These things have no resale value. Because nobody wants to put the work into them because it's so expensive. So, like I said earlier in the video, you know, yeah, the parts are a little more, but the amount of money I save, you know, over what the average person would spend on, you know, labor. And dude, really, this has been really easy. Every bolt's come right off. I haven't had a single thing tried around. I haven't had a single thing be stuck. I haven't had, even the suspension bolts were like, womp, 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 bang, pop. I mean, Colorado car, right? But you know, it's all come apart pretty easy. Getting the diff in's gonna be a bit of a nightmare. Gonna need 2 people for that, just because it's big and awkward. But yeah, it's been easy peasy. Probably gonna go have some lunch or something. This is taking forever. Anyways, I'm probably pull that rack out, just tilt it upward and then pull the rack out. And let the lines finish draining, let the system drain out. This Mercedes fluid is very expensive and hard to find. So we're just going to reuse it, which is why we're using a nice clean jug. Because we're just going to reuse the fluid. So anyway, bye-bye. Hey there, Mr. Steering Rack. What are you doing? You just hanging out? That's cool. Oh! Well, hello. What are you doing there, buddy? Just being a Mr. Steering Rack, huh? Alrighty. She ready to go to her new home. I'm gonna shove her in.
With it being that way, no, I doubt it. So, I'm gonna go inside.
Yeah, go inside.
I'm cold. I love you.
It's all good. All right, YouTube. So, the steering rack is in. I spoke to TCR. I went through all this, and it was still having the same problem. It's free play in the wheel, in the center. Yeah, put a whole new steering rack in. Didn't fix the problem, right? And now, it's like when we did our test, before I even bought the rack, I could see a tiny little like when the shaft was over, I could see it doing this, right? And I'm like, oh well, it's gotta be in here, because when the sleeve's over and there's a plastic piece here, you can't really see the shaft, but what you see is the joint that's over it, and I could see the joint moving, you know, as she would work it in the free play. So I'm kind of like, okay, it's a bad rack. Pulled that rack out, which I have now learned is good, because I put the new rack in, and and it still has the same exact problem, right? So now I'm like, oh my god, what's the problem? You know, do I gotta, you know, anyways, I've been having this problem with this car for a year. I thought it was the rack. Just spent 5 hours, front differential out, did the whole rack, put it all back together. Now the alignment's like way out. And my steering wheel, for whatever my clock spring now, I don't know why, is just crunching. I don't know why. I don't know why we have a crunchy clock spring all of a sudden. It still works. There it goes. But yeah, don't know why the clock spring's crunchy. That should be about straight. But so anyways, hey look. Free play's gone. Free play's gone. Do you know how I fixed it? I found the problem. And I fixed it with the Torx, a 10-inch extension, a 6-inch extension, and a 1/2-inch ratchet. You wanna know what the problem was? Our friend Mr. Steering Shaft there, see that U-joint? Nothing wrong with it. It's perfectly fine. Its friend up here at the top, where it connects to the body of the car, which would be, let's see, right there. You see that bolt there? Holds it in. There you go. Try to get you all the light you can handle there. That bolt was loose, so the cam from the steering shaft going through the firewall's been knocking around inside that U-joint. See how it sticks through in the center? Yeah, that bolt wasn't clamped tight. That's been the problem the entire time. So I just spent $400, or $350 on this whole steering rack. Just spent all day doing it for a loose bolt. You know, I'm happy it's fixed. I really am. But damn, hindsight's a bitch. It just is. I'm not defeated. I'm happy it's fixed. I just gotta figure out what the hell is going on in the clock spring now. I don't know why it just got crunchy all of a sudden. I put the whole car back together, started the car, and it gave me an ESP warning, and I was like, oh, that's weird. And turned the wheel, and it's like, I never spun the wheel or turned anything any more than this when it didn't have a rack in it. So I don't know what the hell is going on with that. I'm gonna pull the wheel off tomorrow, see if we can fix that, and try to get it scheduled for an alignment and tires to be mounted. It should be ready to hit the road. So, loose bolt.